It was a rough week.
Yeah, well, yes, and now here's the news of us continuing to talk about those games, I guess, huh?
I guess, yeah, it's a testament to how rough a week it was.
Their staying power.
Yeah, that here we are a week later talking about the many various snafus and kerfluffles involved in last week's releases, such as Assassin's Creed Unity.
The
Master Chief Collection.
Halo, the Master Chief Collection.
That is the full title, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I keep just calling it Master Chief.
Well, whatever.
Whatever.
I just call it Halo.
That works. This year's Halo.
Sure.
Warlords of Draenor, to maybe a lesser extent.
World of Warcraft,
Yes.
Warlords of Draenor.
Man, I'm just cocking up titles left and right here. I feel like Unity was kind of the biggest.
Yeah, I definitely saw more
of the messes last week. Largely due to the way the embargo was handled and the fact that, like, even absent all the many technical problems with that game, like, people, like, reviewers just didn't seem to like it much.
Also, due to the fact that there are screenshots floating around of women without faces at all.
But that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying, put all that stuff aside.
That's what I'm saying.
Say the game works perfectly out of the box.
Sounds like it's still kind of underwhelming.
It's just not a great Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
Especially after people like Black Flag so much. Like, it's disappointing to hear this one is kind of a step back in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then you layer all of the crazy technical problems on top of it.
Yeah. And it wasn't like animation problems. They were just screenshots that could be easily passed around of, like, hey, this game looks like it's kind of
sure.
fun.
I mean, it gave the impression of the game as a nightmare factory, with some of the screenshots floating around, but,
did that guy just shout Nightmare Factory?
I bet it's totally possible. There are millions of people playing this game. I'm sure a lot of them could go through the game without ever seeing somebody have their face melt off.
Sure.
It's a bummer for them.
I know, right?
Missing out on.
At a certain point, some of the videos that were floating around made it seem like maybe I should play this before they patch it.
Yeah, I got to a certain point, and I got not far in. I kind of got to like the first mission, post tutorial, and it was like there was a dot of where I should go, and I couldn't get there, and it was like sometimes the dot would move, and I was like, I'm really confused.
Huh.
And then I talked to Alex a little bit about it some more, and he was like, yeah, this game's fucked. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna stop playing it then, because I think I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah, I mean, they put out a blog post like a day or two after launch saying, like, here's all the issues that we're looking at, and it was pretty serious stuff, like, player character falling through the world.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up real fast.
I mean, it's a true testament to the state of last week's releases that both Halo and Assassin's Creed had to have, like, frequently updated blog posts about the state of affairs as it relates to those games.
Absolutely.
Warlords did too.
Yeah,
as well. They
yeah.
had the server stuff, which we'll talk about in a bit. But one of these things that they update the post as they go along with server stuff.
Right.
And one of them went almost like 24 hours.
For me, like the Assassin's Creed is almost the craziest because it was single player stuff.
Yeah,
They're like, they're the stuff hoes. Like, what are you doing?
Just character falling through the world, character getting stuck in hay carts, game crashing when you join a co-op session. Some of the issues they pointed out. They've put out a patch that addressed those that I just rattled off.
Mm-hmm.
Their initial blog post mentioned a bunch of the graphics issues, like the frame rate.
Yeah.
But the wording very specifically did not say we are working on the frame rate. Well, here are the most widely reported problems we've heard about from you. And then it says frame rate issues, graphical and collision issues, stuff like that.
There's only so much you can do at frame rate.
The two console, that's the worry on the consoles. Like, people, a lot of people are saying, like, it gets so bad it's like less pleasant to play.
Yeah, I've heard 20 FPS. It's like a good baseline.
Like Digital Foundry did their really nice performance profiling pieces, and it's like both of those console versions are like down around 20 a lot of the time. Like, I'm not like a crazed, like, everything has to be 60 or I'm not playing it type person, but like a good locked 30 is absolutely preferable. Anything below that, and I'm starting to get uncomfortable.
I do hear it looks amazing.
It does. Like, the screenshots that you can see floating around when it's not, people aren't falling apart at the seams are like shocking. Some of the shots that I've seen people posting from the PC version of that thing are just like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe that's a video game.
So I bought a 980.
Yeah.
And downloaded Assassin's Creed, thinking like, well, here we go. Let's check it out. There were no other modern games I wanted to really play. I had already played most of them, so it's like, am I going to play Mordor? No. So downloaded Assassins. I'm running on a 16:10 monitor. It's a 2560 by 1600, and it ran like fucking shit.
You were running at the full res?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty
with it turned up. Like if they're talking about their engine being CPU bound, then maybe I just don't have the CPU to handle it.
CPUs have not been advancing a lot in recent years.
It ran real bad. Also, I understand 16 by 10 monitors are not the rage that they should be because they're really great. But their solution for 16 by 10 is just an option in the menu that says stretching on off.
That's bad.
And it just stretches to fill the vertical.
So can you turn that off and at least play
and then letterbox it?
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can set the resolution to 2560 by 1440.
Yeah.
And the monitor will just naturally do that.
Right. You're right. That's not a good solution.
No, it's like when I loaded it up, it filled the screen. I'm like, oh, awesome, yeah, 16, yeah, this hot 16 by 10 full res, let's go. And it's like, wait, why is this doesn't run so great? Also, why is everyone so tall? It's like I'm watching Jaws on TV, and it's the early '80s.
Were you running it at like whatever the max graphical settings are?
I fooled around with it a little bit, but yeah, I had them turned up pretty high.
There's apparently like one or two settings. There's
just
one.
Kill it.
There's one in particular that apparently is good for like an extra 30 FPS if you turn it off. It's like one type of shadows or something like that.
That's always the way. But that was also right around the time that the word was getting out that like, if this game's working, it's not necessarily a game that you want to play. And they're like,
right,
okay, I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't need to go through the GeForce experience to know what I need to turn off here. I can just
yeah. Have you ever used that thing?
I do use that thing
to optimize settings. It's optimizing against your specs, right?
It is, yes.
Not just a common profile.
I feel like most games now are good enough from what they do inside the game that I don't need to go to like the internet and have GeForce do it. But I can tell it's November because every fucking week has another GeForce pop up for a new driver.
Like the game ready driver updates.
They did Far Cry 4. They did Unity.
Yep.
They didn't do Draenor though. God damn it! I wanted my driver update to make sure Warlords.
How does that thing run?
It's fucking great.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. It's like a 20-year-old game. It runs like a million frames. So actually, after I put my card, I don't remember if I talked about this last week, but after I put my card in, I just played Quake 3.
Yeah.
Did you only get one free game download? Because when I got my 770 a year ago, I got Blacklist, Black Flag, and Arkham.
The promotion they're having right now is a Ubisoft promotion where it's a choice of Far Cry, Assassins, or The Crew.
That's weird because mine was a Ubisoft too, but I got 3 games, straight up all of them, like Black Flag, Arkham Origin. Was that a Ubisoft
That's not
game?
Ubisoft. That's Warner.
Warner Brothers. So
I guess it's a separate promotion.
Nvidia probably just has
Yeah, they just go do their deals when they do them.
Give me $1 million keys for this game, please.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, so time will tell what they do with this thing. I did see some people talking about past Assassin's games on PC that had been patched pretty well eventually.
Sure, that's true. I mean, if we look at the grand legacy of Assassin's Creed on PC, this game runs, which they used to not even do that.
Right.
So,
but more to the point for this one, I hope they get it fixed up. It'd be great to see some kind of performance increase on consoles.
This whole thing has kind of left me. I mean, we talked about it a lot this year. Over the course of the year, kind of with Watch Dogs, like the lead up to Watch Dogs, and that general feeling of like, oh, well, maybe Watch Dogs will be the thing that kind of replaces Assassin's Creed as the kind of the premier franchise. I feel like for as much as they touted some of the sales numbers for Watch Dogs, I don't think it is grabbed hold the way that they needed it to. No. To kind of achieve that, but I feel like Assassin's Creed is now also had a pretty serious misstep here.
Absolutely.
And, it's certainly not doom for the franchise or anything like that. A lot of the series has been through worse. I mean, we were talking about Dragon Age 2 earlier.
And Assassin's Creed 3 was not well received by almost anyone.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like with that, like 4 kind of being the comeback, and then now they're right back to kind of fucking it up.
Yeah.
You have to wonder, like, how long will people accept this, and how long will people be checking for this franchise in stores?
Yeah, I mean,
before they just go like, those games used to be good, but now they're trash.
Yeah. Well, in recent years they've had kind of a one-on, one-off pattern going, right? Like, Brotherhood was great. Revelations, not so much. Well, no, actually, I'm sorry.
2 was great. Brotherhood was great.
Okay, you're right. So,
Revelations was bad.
my pattern
3 was bad.
Okay, my pattern doesn't go that far
4
back.
was good.
So that's the thing. It's
if we're really looking at it, the pattern is 4 was good.
Well, yeah, but okay, I guess what I'm thinking of is that 3 introduced a bunch of new stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like 2 came out, it was good. Brotherhood came out, and it was just a better 2, and people liked it.
Yep.
They fucked a bunch of stuff up with 3, but they introduced stuff like the ship combat that people received really well.
Right. And then 4, which wasn't or didn't originally have 4 on the name.
Yeah.
could have been a Brotherhood situation, would have been the cleaned up 3.
Right. So 4 basically had an extra year to build on the stuff that 3 introduced that people liked. So I wonder if a similar situation is going to arise where, in this case, they also did a bunch of new stuff, primarily with the tech, trying to...
Right. I mean, they'll certainly give them another year. They'll have honed the tech to a point where it's acceptable. So certainly.
It seems plausible that next year's game could build on Unity and come out pretty well.
Just not sure that I want to play those games anymore.
But that's the thing. At a certain point, people are going to stop giving them a pass for stuff like that.
I really liked 4, but 4 was, like I said, it felt like kind of a comeback after a couple of years of it being a bummer.
Yeah.
And Unity feels like it just fell right into that same trap.
I think something has got to give with that franchise, either the frequency of the releases or the scope of each game or something.
I feel like there's a larger conversation to be had about the types of games Ubisoft is making and the frequency with which they're putting them out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously...
It gets back to that same stuff of just like, how many towers am I expected to climb?
Yeah.
In a game, in a year. Like, how many towers must I climb in a year to reveal all of these side missions?
I mean, if anything, Assassins is probably perpetuating that problem because it's too much too fast. They don't ever... Like, having to put a game out every year, they never have time to stop and think about, like, all right, what can we radically change to actually make this good and interesting and new again?
And you think about Assassins as being a game that has had some good story stuff and, a more focused experience. Like, if they were to actually ditch the open world, I think that there's some stuff they could do. Focusing on smaller areas and stuff like that. I mean, that's a really hard transition because it's hard not for I think a lot of people would view that as a step back, but I think that's one way for them to go. I think Ubisoft needs to spread its fucking wings and make more different types of games. Because even it's like comical. Like when we get to December and we're talking about The Crew, like The Crew is hilarious because it has the equivalent of like someone had to sit down and go like, what's the car equivalent of climbing a tower? like
what is it?
It's you drive up to a satellite dish.
Okay. Is it like up a mountain?
No, but there are mountains in that game. But one of them might be. I don't know. But like you have to get to a radio tower equivalent to reveal parts of the minimap and reveal like a billion side events that are overwhelming in their scope. And you're just like, just fucking tell me the 20 things that I need to do.
I mean, to be fair, that particular trope is not that damning. I mean, Shadow of Mordor used it. A lot of
You're right. It's not that damning. It's more that just so many of Ubisoft's games do it now that I think that like...
And they originated it with Assassins.
Yeah, but I think that they need to be the ones to like turn away from it. They need to be the ones to come up with what's next. Like there are a zillion people at that company. I'm sure most of them are very capable.
I'm sure, but again, like who has time to take a step back and like figure out what's next when they have to put out a game of this size every fucking year?
Yeah. Well, Far Cry doesn't come out every year yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
But Assassins is clearly still kind of leading the way for that company.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. I hope they take a good hard look at the way that they're doing things and like how much time they're giving themselves to make interesting games after all this.
Right, but I mean, it's not like they had a year to make Unity. Like, this team has been working that for a while. Sure.
But they
also had to work on it in the middle of a console development cycle and launch and stuff. Like and
things happen. You don't ramp up to full production until later on and that kind of thing.
Has any yearly series ever gone like bi-yearly or stopped doing the annual release thing without being canceled entirely?
I can think of. I mean, Call of Duty, they changed things behind the scenes to accommodate more teams having longer to work on the games.
It seems like wanting Assassin's Creed to take a year off. We always say that this franchise should take a year off, but I don't think that's ever happened as far as I can tell. And I'm sure people are going to tweet.
I think they got to make money while they can.
Yeah.
Like while people still remember their franchise. They've been lucky enough to create a franchise that has resonated with millions of people year in, year out.
God knows
on some level, they have to just fucking keep striking until that iron goes all the way cold, and then hope they come up with something else that keeps them employed.
And they have to do it because they're a public company, and shareholders want results, and they know that this gets results. Up to now, like I always very cynically look at things like this and think like the only thing that's truly going to get their attention with something like this is like a drop in shareholder confidence or a drop in sales. Mm-hmm. And like their stock went down like 13% the day that this game came out or the day after.
Yeah.
For whatever that's worth. And, we'll see what happens to the sales numbers, if anything.
Yeah. And it's going to take something like that.
Yeah.
I guess.
You know, like an underwhelming Assassin's Creed game on its own is one thing, but then when you couple it with the game barely working for a lot of people and the way they tried to kind of keep that quiet for longer than they should have.
Yeah.
The whole thing just kind of turned into a big debacle.
Hey, yeah, and it just for me, it makes Assassin's Creed 4 look like a fluke that like one team was able to kind of get it together and go like, "Nah, we got this cool idea. We want to focus more on this stuff," and they nailed it.
Yeah,
pretty well.
Same time, they can't just do that again either. No, we sat down and looked at Rogue and it was like, it's more of that.
Right. Like, but, you know, I wasn't exactly champing at the bit to get back to that either.
Maybe every year is too fast for a video game franchise to iterate.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just too much.
Well, especially a big one like that.
Yeah.
I mean, those games have a certain expectation of content and size of landmass and everything like that.
Well, that's what I was saying about, too big, too fast. Like, those games are huge and...
Let's take a year off of Madden.
Something's got to give.
Yeah, not doing Madden this year.
I bet the team leadership running the Madden team would love to if they could take a year off and not have consequences like, and you have to lay off half your team because we can't. There's no game coming out. I bet they would love to be able to.
Yeah.
Like think for 2 straight years about one new game.
Sit down and really break a lot of shit down and go like, all right, here's the stuff we really need to do.
Yeah.
But we can't do because we're like in full sprint at all times.
Yeah.
Be happy for a year off of wrestling games if it means they could actually get a new team and
totally
do it completely differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's probably a trickier one because they are licensees.
Yeah.
So they have a license to uphold. They probably have to ship a game every year. WWE Supercard 2 would fulfill the technical agreements in that contract. Totally. Wrestling games are. But at the same time, I'm not convinced that if you gave Ukes 2 years, they would actually do anything.
No, that's
worth
what I'm saying.
Fuck.
Get a new team.
And give them 2 years.
Yes,
Sure,
that's
sure.
what I mean. Yeah.
Studio Gigante, get them back together.
Trying to remember.
They did Raw for the original Xbox.
It looked really good.
Or didn't they? No, did Anchor do that?
Didn't they do?
They did one of them.
Didn't they also do
Tao
Feng?
Yeah, they did Tao Feng, Fist of the Lotus.
I thought so.
Oh, man.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Whew.
Was Tobias on that?
Yeah, that's Tobias'
Yep.
studio.
Okay, yeah,
John
that's right.
Tobias' studio. And then a lot of those guys, former kind of Midway, I think a lot of those went on to do Robomoto. So they did
really?
the Tony Hawk board games.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
Huh.
I think they did HD as well, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
The more you know. Mm-hmm. And then there was the Master Chief.